So welcome back, everyone. We're going to start the Title V portion of the webinar, and I'd like to introduce Jeremy Art, who's going to take you through a Title V application.
All right, so we're going to get started on a Title V application. The submittal, or starting the submittal process, is the same as it was in construction permitting. So I'm going to go down here to the Edit Pending Submittals selection to select an application that I've started in preparation for this training today. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select my application that I have that I started by using the Edit Application button. And here we are at our Form 1.0. As you can see, just like the construction permit application forms, we have the mandatory fields that are indicated by the red stars, and the blue question marks are our tooltips. These are very basic help tips for answering the questions that are being asked. The more detailed information will be in the instructions that's on that front page. So to get started, get your application started, you'll select which type of application you'll be submitting, whether it be an initial, a renewal, or a modification. You'll come down to the facility information and select the facility that you would like to create the application for. The facility address, county, and city, and facility numbers, all that information will be pre-populated based on what came over from SPARS and SLICE. This first section is the permit contact information. Please note that currently the system actually populates the information for whoever is logged in when that application is started. So if you don't fit the permit contact definition, please make sure that it's the actual facility contact person that has this filled out for. For our billing and invoice remittance information, you can use the same as permit contact, and it will pre-fill based on that information above. You can do the same thing with the parent company information. Parent company information is not required. We have our facility total of employees, and again, we have the same as permit contact if you want to use that for the responsible official. Under our processes and products section, we have our FCC and NAICS codes, and those should be migrated from SLICE. So you want to verify those, and if you need to change them, we have drop-down boxes that can also be pre-typed ahead in order to get to what you need. Once you're finished with this form, you can hit Save, and it will save all the information, or you can hit Next, and it will save and move to the next form. This is our Form 2.0. I'll speak a little bit about this initial view that we have. We kind of refer to this as our form view. This view is essentially the same for the 2.0, CE01, MEO1, and Form 3. This is just where it shows all of the equipment that is available to be included in your Title V application. First thing I'll draw your attention to is this Include in Submittal column. This is a way to show the DNR what pieces of equipment we should that are included in the application, so that we know what pieces of equipment to review when we're reviewing the application. And it also tells the system which pieces of equipment to validate the information in the forms. So by default, for all Title V applications, all equipment is checked with the Include in Submittal from the beginning. To go over a couple of the other buttons that you see on this page, we have the New Emission Point. That's if you needed to add a new emission point that isn't currently on this form. And then we have this Delete button. The Delete button we only intend for you to be able to use on a new emission point that you may decide that you want to remove from that application. If you have equipment that's been removed from the facility or deactivated, we would ask that you contact the help desk in order to get those pieces of equipment deactivated rather than deleted from your application. We also have this reset table button. And if you click the reset table button, it will actually reset everything in this table to the state that it was in when the application was first submitted. So if you do hit that, you'll lose any unsaved information. So we're going to go into what we call our data entry view. So you go into, click that view edit button, and it will take you to the actual specific information for that piece of equipment. You will see that most of this stuff, all this stuff is currently asked for in our Form 2.0s. We did remove a lot of stuff from our previous versions of paper 2.0 forms for this, this application. As you go through, you can see that based on what question or the way that you answered this discharge style question, it will actually change what fields are actually required. So for example, if we go to fugitive, you'll see that everything below that point became an optional field rather than mandatory. Also, you'll see that on our stack shape and dimensions, our circular diameter, rectangular dimensions, and other dimensions fields are actually in feet, which is different than what our paper forms used to be, where we asked for them in inches. We have our selection of ACFM versus SCFM, and then you can select whether or not the stack temperature is ambient. If you say yes, the temperature field will no longer be populated down there. Most of the information in your Form 2.0 should have been migrated from Slice, so you'll just want to go through and verify the information that's included on each one of these emission points. So in order to, once you're finished with the emission point that you're working on, you will click Save and then Close, and it will close you out of that form. What's very important at this point is, even though you've hit Save on that form, it saves the data in the background. In order for it to actually save the data to your application, you need to hit the Save, click the Save button down here. Once you see the green check mark and the green box up here that says Save Successfully, you know that everything in that, for what you did is saved successfully to the application. For this example, we're only going to select a few emission points. So I'm going to unselect the Include in App for the ones that I don't want to include, and then we have this checkbox here that will only show the equipment that you have selected for including in the submittal. We'll hit our Next button, and we will move to the next form, which is our CE01. You'll notice they include in submittal column here as well. So if we click on our View Edit, we will see the information as it was migrated from Slice again. A new, a new field that we have that is currently not included in our paper forms is this type of control equipment. This is a drop-down box that was taken directly from Slice so that everything will migrate over to Slice. If you have something that a piece of control device that does not fit into anything in this list, you can always go to Other Control Device, and you'll see that it will pop up with a field for description. And you can type in what that description is there. We will continue to go through and make sure that we have all of our mandatory fields filled out. On this equipment, control efficiency is based on, we have three options. We have manufacturer's data, If that's the case, no additional information is needed. If you select stack test, we ask for the date of the test that you are referring to, the reference method for that test. And if a stack test summary for that test has not previously been submitted to the DNR for review, we ask that that be attached to this application on the attachment screen that I'll show you later. And then we have other, where you can specify what your method is there. On our controlled pollutant list, you are required to select at least one controlled pollutant. This is a common screen that you will see throughout the Title V application, where you're searching for what pollutants you want to use. We have a pollutant code, and that's used in SLICE, and we have a pollutant name. It doesn't really matter which way you go, which way you choose to search for your pollutants. This one, we are going to say PM, and you'll see that we can select all 3 PM versions here on the screen, and it will attribute whatever we type in here to all 3 of those pollutants. Hit save, and it closes out. Now, if we wanted to choose that PM 2.5 should be considered different than the other 3, we can go in and we can make those changes individually. Click save, and you'll see that it changed for PM 2.5, but not for PM 10 or regular PM. And then we will go to our associate emission point screen and select which emission point that should be associated with. Click save, and it is displayed here. We'll click save, and again, we're done with that point, and we've moved out to our form view. We'll click save. On this screen, you'll see that there are fields that are not filled in, mandatory fields that are not filled in. So we're going to, I'll hit click save, and I'll show you that the system does actually validate as you click save for what is not completed in the form before you leave that form. So it shows you up in this red section up here what is missing, and it also highlights and outlines the missing information in red. As long as you have a control equipment ID or an emission point ID, emission unit ID on Form 3, as long as you have that completed, it will save the data that you have completed up to that point, and you can come back to it at a different time. So you are able to start filling out the form, save it, and come back to it later, and all your data will be saved in there. And now I'm going to show you the second way that the system will validate what you have in the system. So if you click next, you'll see that, again, we have another red box up here on our form view that says that the control equipment is incomplete for CE 556. So for right now, we're going to move forward so we can see the third way that information is actually validated. Even though you can't hit next and progress to the next form, you can click over on the left-hand side and click to the next form. This is our ME form for our continuous emissions monitoring equipment. There are no there will be no monitoring equipment that will have been migrated from SLICE because SLICE does not deal with continuous emissions monitoring, so you'll have to add new for the first time when you fill out an application. So we'll go through and we'll fill out our mandatory fields just like all of our other forms and just answer the questions as we go. When we get down to our monitored pollutant list, you will go through and you'll figure out what that piece of monitoring equipment is actually measuring. And for all the ones that it's not measuring, you'll use the delete button. It will ask you to verify for each time. So we'll go through and delete a few of these. Also, the system will require that on at least one of the pollutants that you have on this list, that you go in and you click that View Edit button and answer these questions, as asking whether a performance specification test has been completed. Even if it does not apply to that pollutant, the system does require you to answer it for at least one of the monitored pollutants. And again, we'll go in and we'll pick our emission point that is associated. We'll click Save. You can see all the information here. We can click Save. We're saved successfully, and we can move on to the next form. Click Next, and here we are at our Form 3.0. On our Form 3, again, it looks very similar to our current paper forms. We will be updating our paper forms in order to mirror what the EASYAir applications look like, but for right now, we do have some discrepancies. The really main change to the Form 3.0 is this emission unit type field. This is a field that comes directly from SLICE, and that is a required field in SLICE, so it was carried forward to this form. Again, it's a drop-down box that comes directly from SLICE, so you can select what you need from there. We do have multiple others, so if it doesn't fit into a specific one of these, you can select an other. And we'll go through and make sure all of our mandatory fields are completed. I'll show you how, here we have our SCCs. These SCCs were actually migrated from SLICE. If you need to add another one, we use this Associate SCC code button, and you can do a search. You want to search as far into the number as you can, because otherwise it will search for any place that number sequence shows up. So for this one, you can see I typed in 4060, and it comes up with 7 pages of results. So you want to try and be as specific as possible. So we're going to choose this one here, click Save, and now that one was added to our list up here. Another deviation from the way our current paper forms work is that we actually do have the ability to add multiple SCCs to a single form. So you can associate as many as you want to this form. You do the same thing with raw material. So we can choose for this one, we're going to choose natural gas. And then we're also going to choose gasoline. So now we have 2 raw materials listed for this single emission unit. We have our federally enforceable operating limit, the same as we have on our paper forms, and the perimeter rule establishing that limit, again, the same as our current paper forms. You'll notice that our maximum design rate has been changed from maximum hourly design rate to just maximum design rate. Because we're limited in the system, we wanted to make that design rate make more sense. So we have, you'll see in our design rate limits, or design rate units, excuse me, we have a drop-down list of not only hourly, but by day, or even just, in this case, we can do 500 gallons as if it was a 500-gallon tank. We do also have an other if what you have doesn't quite meet up with what is in that drop-down list. On this here, we will associate our control equipment, and it will populate your control equipment list. So you can select it. We can associate our monitoring equipment. And this one, the emission point was associated from Slice, so that was already in there. One thing with that maximum design rate, if you do have multiple raw materials, as in this case here, we would just ask that you pick one of the raw materials and give us that design rate, and then on a form CA01 that you can attach to this application, show what all of the raw materials and their associated maximum design rate. So we'll go down to the associate potential emissions, and so we have two sections here, one for our criteria pollutants and one for our HAPs and other regulated pollutants. So for our associate potential emissions, we'll go ahead and do PM again. And just like in the control equipment, you can select multiples, and it will associate whatever you put in here with all three of those. So in this case, we'll put our emission factor in, and then we have our units here, which directly correlate with the units that are in the maximum design rate. Since we used other for our maximum design rate units, we're going to use pound per other here. You select your source of your emission factor, do your potential hourly uncontrolled, and if you have a control efficiency for a piece of control equipment, which I think we had for 95 there, you can put that there. And as of right now, the system will calculate your potential hourly controlled emissions based on your potential hourly controlled emissions. That will change as we go forward and we work on our auto calculation a little bit further. So we click Save there, and again, you'll see that all three of those pollutants all have the same potentials associated with them. And it all works the same as with your HAPs. And again, that's displayed here. So now we're going to click Save. And for this one, we're going to only select a few of those emission units. Now, if you notice, I have not clicked Save on that emission unit that I made changes to. If I click over here to another form, the system will actually warn me that the data that I entered previously will not be saved if I continue. So it's just another way to make sure that you, because if you were to click OK here, all that information that I typed in would be gone. So I will click Cancel and Save, and now we have our green check mark that tells us that we've saved all that information and we won't lose it going forward. So we definitely suggest that each time you make a change to one of these to emission unit or emission point or any of these forms, when you finish making those changes, to make sure that you hit the Save button down here. That way you can be assured that you won't lose any of the data that you previously put in. Then we'll click Next. And this is our Form 1.3, which is our insignificant activities list. You can see that I typed one in here. We can go to add new record. And these are really just text fields that we can go forward. And type in whatever you need, and then hit save or next and move forward. This is our 1.4, which is our potential emissions for our HAPs. So you'll see that this is blank right now, but if I go in and I click calculate emissions, it will actually calculate the totals from all of the Form 3s that I filled out for HAP emissions. If you have individual HAP limits, you can actually type those in here. For example, we'll say that we have a single HAP limit of 9.4 tons for the facility. And then this number is the total that's calculated from the Form 3s, but you can come in and override that if you have a facility-wide total HAP limit. Click next. And we'll go to our potential emissions of our significant activities for our criteria pollutants. Again, when we click calculate emissions, it will total the emissions from all of our Form 3s for your criteria pollutants. Again, in the same case, you can use this column here to indicate any type of facility-wide or bubble limits that you might have that are different from what the system actually calculates. Go here to, these are the same questions that are in our paper forms. If you answer one of these three questions, it will actually populate this question as well. Move to next. This form is our Part 2, our current Part 2 General Facility Requirements form. It has all the same questions as our paper form does, but again, based on your answers to these questions, certain questions will be populated and certain ones will either be answered or go away based on how you answer your question. For Part F, when we're talking about our Part 63 NESHAPs, if you're subject to a Part 63 NESHAP, you'll go to this Add New Record in this section, and you'll have a drop-down list of all of the Part 63 NESHAPs that are out there. And we're going to use that one. Click Save, and now that's saved there. If you need to add a second one, you can hit the Add New Record button, and it will bring up a new line with a new drop down. Our NSPS works the same way. Again, you get your drop down list, make your selection, and click Save. And again, we'll just continue to answer these questions. Once you get to question 7, all of the questions after this point actually will determine either what sort of attachments are required for the application, or if there are any additional forms that need to be completed as a result of your answers on these parts. So for here, we'll click No on proposed limits. We'll say that yes, we do have a boiler. Yes, we do have an engine. Yes, we have a CAM plan. And no, we do not have a compliance plan. So if we click Next from here, it will take us to the boiler and process heater information form. So you go in and add a new boiler and just input the information for that boiler here. save, and click next. If you have an engine, it works the same way. Again, these are based off of very closely to what our current paper forms are. And here's another case where you'll see that fields will come up based on what your answer is on these questions. If you click that the engine is certified, it will ask you which tier it's certified to, and then it will have a statement here that that certificate of conformity must be attached to the application. So we'll click Save, and we'll see all of our information here, and then we'll click Next. This is our attachment form where you would attach the additional information to your application. You'll see that our process flow diagram, CAM calculations, and emission point information, these are always required with the Title V application. The CAM calculations page can be found on our forms on our website. We have a link to that in our instructions, as well as this emission point information is our Part 2 emission point information forms, which again can be found on our site, and the link would be in our instructions. Because we answered yes to the CAM plan question on the general requirements form, that is now required as well. You can upload documents by clicking the online radio button and upload as many documents as you need to for that form, or you can mail your attachments in. If you mail attachments, they have to be accompanied with a paper signed Form 1.0. Once we get to this point and we have all of our required attachments addressed, you can click Next. And this is our final validation screen. And you can see that it's giving us our red bar up here saying that our Form CE01 for CE556 is not complete. If we click on that here, it will take us back to the CE page. We can go in and we can complete the information for this. Associate our emission point, save, click save again, we're saved successfully, and now we can go back to our validation and see that with all of our green check marks here and in the attachment summary that we are validated and all of the mandatory fields are completed for your Title V application. Click Next. This is our application certification. You'll answer your security question for your response, and I should say that only the responsible officials can submit a Title V application. So if you were a preparer, whether a consultant or just a preparer at the facility, in this section here, there will be a green button that says email responsible official, I think that, or email that the application is ready for submittal. So you will click that and it will actually let the responsible official know that they have a task to do in order to submit. So once the responsible official answers their security question and puts their PIN in, they click submit. And it will look just like it did in the construction permit applications. where we get our confirmation of submittal with our submittal ID, who it was submitted by, what was actually submitted, and then you can go to your submitted list to see that this application was submitted today for the facility in question. That's it.